Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is approximately 2:09 on Monday, the 12th of September. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission. Our recording secretary today is America. If you can call roll, please.
Thank you. Darren Balaam.
Present.
Zara Darby will not be able to attend today. Scott Benton.
I'm here.
Lorraine Benuto will not be able to make it. Charlene Bybee will not be able to make it. Liz Flores.
Present.
Jessica Gogachia will not be able to be here today. Sarah Porter.
Present.
Rhonda Lawrence will not be able to be here today. Leanne McCauley Larson.
Present.
Peg Samples will not be able to be here today. Natalie Sanchez.
Present.
Misty Von Allen will not be able to be here at the moment. Lieutenant Colonel Scott Caldwell.
Yes, ma'am.
And Shelley Buchanan.
Present.
Roll call has been taken.
Thank you, America. I would just like to take a moment to recognize two of our newest members. This is their first meeting, Sarah Porter and Shelley Buchanan. Thank you and welcome to our commission. With that, we will move into item 2, which is items for presentation, discussion, information, and/or action. Public comments from the public are invited at this time on items listed for possible action. America, do we have any public comment?
No, Chair, there is no public comment.
Thank you. Move into item 2.01, which is discussion and possible action to select a chair of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission for the 2022-2023 school year among the following individuals: Misty Von Allen, Darren Balaam, Scott Benton, Lorraine Benuto, Shelley Buchanan, Charlene Bybee, Scott Caldwell, Zara Darby, Elizabeth Flores, Rhonda Lawrence, Leanne McCauley, Jessica Gogachia Perez, I thought I was going to struggle with the first name, the first last name, Sarah Porter, Peg Samples, and Natalie Sanchez. So I'm going to open it up to the commission. And one thing that I should be mindful of telling you is we can only nominate those that are here with us today.
So do you need a nomination?
Yes, please.
All right. I would like to nominate you, Scott, for chair position.
Thank you.
Yes.
I would like to second that nomination.
Thank you. Is there any other nominations? With that, I will take the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Oh,
Aye.
hold, please.
Aye.
Hold, please.
Hold, please. Time out. I have to ask for public comment.
There is no public comment.
Thank you. Now we can vote on the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Well, thank you. I am honored to get to serve as your chair for the next year. That will move us into item 2.02, which is discussion of possible action to select a vice chair of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission for the 2022-2023 school year from the following individuals: Misty Von Allen, Darren Balaam, Lorraine Benuto, Shelley Buchanan, Charlene Bybee, Scott Caldwell, Zara Darby, Elizabeth Flores, Rhonda Lawrence, Leanne McCauley, Jessica Gogachia Perez, Sarah Porter, Peg Samples, and Natalie Sanchez. I would like to nominate Natalie Sanchez as the vice chair of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission.
I'll second.
Any other nominations? Natalie, are you interested in serving as the vice chair?
Yes.
All right, we got confirmation that Natalie is interested. Anybody on Zoom or Teams that would like to make any nominations? Okay, I'm going to ask for any public comment.
There is no public comment.
Thank you. Now we get to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Yay, congratulations. Thank you for being willing. Item 2.03 is approval of the minutes from our June 6, 2022 meeting of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission. They are in our packet and have been emailed to the commission. If there is any changes that need to happen, we can entertain those now. If not, I'll look for a motion to approve.
This is Liz Flores. I would just like to note that in a few places, my last name, Flores, is spelled with an S versus a Z. So I would just ask for correction so that it's Florez, not S. For example, the first place I see it is in roll call, and I think there's a couple other places throughout.
Thank you for catching that, Commissioner Flores. Any other comments? I'm going to toss it back to you, Commissioner Flores, to make a motion with those changes, if you don't mind.
Okay. I may need guidance here. This is Commissioner Flores. I move to strike all Flores that refer to Elizabeth Flores spelled with an S, Flores, and change to Florez to correct the minutes.
And Liz, could I also suggest that you add then approve the remaining minutes as part of your motion?
Oh, yes, and approve the remaining minutes.
Thank you so much for that. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez, Vice Chair Sanchez. We can start saying that now. We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any public comment?
No, Chair, there is not.
Thank you. We will vote on this item 2.03. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 2.04. I have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Susan Enfield. Invite you up if you would like. Perfect. Wherever you feel comfortable.
So hello, everybody, to everyone who's here in the room and those of us who are joining virtually. As the superintendent, I just want to thank you all for giving your time to this important work. The safety and well-being of our children is paramount in everything we do in the district, and I'm grateful for your time and service and input on making sure that our school district is as safe as it can be for students and staff alike. And with that, I just look forward to working with all of you. I'm happy to take any questions. I may not have answers, but I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
I have a question. This is Sarah Porter, and this might be a question to you, Scott. We had talked about at the last meeting, you guys had talked about setting goals, but we wanted to make sure that superintendent was involved in that. Do we need to talk about that with her at all today, or?
So
Am
if
I
I
jumping
remember
ahead?
correctly, it's on our agenda, and
Okay.
it's more so for us to have some discussion, and then
And then
certainly she has the
clue her in.
opportunity to provide some feedback. The way our commission is structured is we have a liaison,
Mm-hmm.
and the superintendent has the opportunity to sit up here on the dais with us, should she choose, and we can have that discussion, and she can chime in at whenever she wants.
Great.
So I've gotten conflicting guidance about yes, be on the dais, not be on the dais. So I don't know. You would imagine I'm happy to not be on the dais, but I also don't want you to take it personally. So I'm happy to join you, but I'm also just happy to be here as a resource. My goal today was really just to listen and observe, and I'll take some notes and then be happy to follow up with Scott or whomever on some thoughts moving forward, and just want to be as helpful to you in this work as possible.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a non-related question to the commission. What has been your favorite outside of the school district activity that you've done since you came to us?
Well, pre-smoke, it was hiking. Right, this is a beautiful part of the world to be outdoors, and I think that those who know me, have known me for a long time, are laughing a bit at how many football games I've been going to, because truth be told, I'm not a massive sports fan, but I have really enjoyed going to our high school football games, as well as some University of Nevada, Reno, go Wolfpack games as well. And I actually am really enjoying it. For someone who's not really a sports gal, that's been a lot of fun and a great way to meet people as well, which has been really wonderful. So I've been grateful for that, and grateful for when I am at events, people in the community coming up to me and sharing, their support for the district, their ideas, for how we can be better. But I will say that I'm really gratified by the the number of people that are so committed to seeing our school district succeed. Recognizing that when our district succeeds, our kids succeed. When our kids succeed, our community is better. So it's been a wonderful couple of months so far.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
One thing about our commission is that we are all made up of community members. So
Yep.
prior to this conversation, I think we were all and will always be in support of what you do.
Well, thank
It's
you.
a community that really, it takes a community. We all do different jobs in the community, and we're all sitting at this table for the betterment of our children.
Well, and as I said, I'm grateful to you all for giving up your time to be a part of this, because it is critically important. And as I said to a group last week, it's my hope that we can all sort of marshal our collective sort of courage in doing what we need to do as the adults in our community for our children and young people. Because as you said, the district can't do it alone. It really is a community-wide effort, and I'm grateful that I believe we have the community here that's committed to doing that. So
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for the superintendent?
You can always email me or call if something comes up later. But I'll be here for the meeting today, listening and learning.
Oh, I was reading the line before. Thank you for, all right, thank you. We will move on to item 2.05, which is the discussion of possible action to approve goals and objectives for the Washoe County School District Safe and Healthy Schools Commission 2022-2023 school year. So if we reflect back to our minutes from our June meeting, we had some great discussion about some options and opportunities to really finalize the goals and the objectives for what we do here on the commission. And then also I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about some of the stuff that we have done in the past as planning. Not that we have to follow anything that we have done in the past. We are here today to make some recommendations and set ourselves some goals. So it's really those of us that are here today or on the commission today, not those that were on the commission with me in 2017, 2018. So with that, I'm going to open it up for some discussion amongst the commission. Commissioner Porter.
I have a question. Are we talking about 2.06 on the, is that where we want to focus? for minutes?
We're on 2.05 right now. I can certainly open them together if that's the desire of the
No,
commission.
I'm sorry. I'm saying, so you want us to look at the minutes from?
From last meeting,
From
yes,
last
thank you.
meeting. Is it the 2.06 or 2.05?
Yes,
They seem
that's-
very similar.
So I believe in the past I've opened them together.
Okay.
2.05 is more of a reflection on
Yep.
the safety forum that we held this past year, which was virtually.
Okay.
And then 2.06 is our actual discussion of our goals for this coming year.
Okay. It would be helpful to me, and I don't know if Shelley too, if, since this is our first meeting, are there bullet points outside of just kind of like reading over the minute? I mean, obviously we already read the minutes, but is there anything where you want to distill that down for us to take a look at?
No, I think we've engaged in some conversation. We've all thrown out some different ideas
Okay.
of what we want our goals to be. One of the big ones that really comes to mind from the notes that I took was maybe having safety forums more frequently and not just in May. We've always landed in May because it's right after the spring break. It's not a big testing time for the school
Sure.
district, and it's also Mental Health Awareness Month. So for those of us that do that work outside of this commission, we paired it with that because a lot of the topics that we talk about at the safety forum have been around mental health and mental health awareness and that sort of thing. But we've also had different things in the safety forum around gun safety. Bullying has been a topic that we've discussed in the past. And I would be remiss if I didn't, we have pivoted as a commission in the last 3 years to really focus on mental health and awareness of the mental health of our students and our staff and our parents. So prior to that, it was really on securing the buildings
Yeah.
and numbering of the buildings and how do we make the environment of the school safer. Our commission was founded or institutionalized after a tragic event at Sparks Middle School. So we did a great job as a commission getting some of that stuff accomplished. And then when the pandemic happened, I had the honor to serve as the chair when we pivoted and went to mental health and the awareness that we can bring and what are the safety nets that we can create for the community. So that's where a lot of our conversations have come from,
Yep.
is our different passions, and we want to maybe blend those passions together. In the forums, we have paired things up so that we get more information out to our parents and our community members. But if there is something that is a pressing issue, we really allow our safety forum to have that as a single topic.
And the safety forum is what you're talking about that was virtual in May that's in here. Okay, so is it always virtual or is it ever in person?
It's prior to the pandemic, it was in person.
And then how many participants are usually a part of that?
I want to say around 100.
And all students or students and parents, community members,
Parents.
everybody? Okay.
A combination of.
Okay.
The last 2 years, we held our safety forum virtually. And the safety forum in 2020, 2021 was, we had 212 people that watched it live, and we offered 2 different sessions at the time, or 3 different sessions for an hour. And then we broke it up into different breakout sessions. And then this last year, we increased the safety forum to an hour and 15 minutes to give more time for question and answers. And I would say that we hovered around 180, 185 that watched it live. But that doesn't, we post it on the school district's website so that people can go back and watch it later.
And was that also kind of the consensus that mental health was a big focus or needed to be a big focus from that, the most recent one in May?
Yeah, so from our feedback, I think so many of us are passionate about that.
Sure.
So it has always been a pressing topic. It doesn't have to be.
No, I just
That's what we get to make decisions on today or talk about, not necessarily if we don't want to make a decision, but really understanding what our goals as a commission is. And I would, again, be remiss if I didn't remind us that this is aligned to the strategic plan of the school district, right? There's a goal that is in the goal settings that have been set for our strategic plan, and the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission has the opportunity to align with those goals.
I would love to, Dr. Ewing, if you're willing to, or Enfield, sorry, if you were able to talk to this. You spoke about it at the town hall, and I love the way you put it. Somebody had raised a question on, are we spending too much time on mental health and social emotional learning? And you had said, it's not mutually exclusive. Like, it's not, we do this in sacrifice of teaching our kids. Like, it's just as important that we try and make this thing a thing. It's not really a thing. It's something that needs to be involved. And if maybe you could recap how you said that for this commission, because I thought it was really insightful and also took a lot of that kind of charge out of it that people get sometimes.
Yeah. So
Before we do that, Dr.
Yeah, sorry.
Infield, sorry, I want to open item 2.5 and 2.06 together
Okay.
so that we can safely talk about this in a public meeting.
Okay.
So at this moment, I'm going to open both of those items together.
Okay.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Scott. So what I had shared at the town hall, there continue to be, and not isolated here to Washoe County. This is, we're seeing this nationally. I certainly saw it in Washington State, where I just came from. Misunderstanding of what we mean by social emotional learning and how we are incorporating it into our work in schools. And so, as you know, a former high school teacher myself, I can tell you that for me, social emotional and academic development that's really how we should be talking. We shouldn't be separating the two out. And I think by separating the two out, that's why we're getting the criticism.
Right.
Because the reality has always been, even before, sadly, this era that we're living in, where school safety has really had to sort of come to the fore in ways that it probably didn't when some of us were in school. It's really important that we not allow ourselves to be distracted or dissuaded from doing the important work. And one of the big things that we do in school is help our children learn how to self-regulate, help our children learn how to live and collaborate within a learning community, within a society. That's part of what an education is. And so what I'd really like to see us do is make sure that we're talking about social, emotional, and academic development as integral to one another. Because I know this commission knows, just as I do, the toll that the pandemic took on many of our children and young people, and adults for that matter. And we are in the very early stages of what we're calling the recovery from that pandemic. I anticipate that we'll be recovering from this for years to come on lots of different levels. And so continuing to attend to the emotional well-being of our children is, I believe, critically important. And I will just add, I know that Scott mentioned alignment to the strategic plan. We will be launching a new strategic planning process in like December, January. That will be very inclusive of the community. Lots of opportunities for families, staff, community members to provide input on priorities. And, we'll land on, probably 5 big goals, multi-year goals for the district to bring forward to the trustees by next June. I don't have a crystal ball, and it's certainly not my plan, so it's not for me to say that these are the things we'll focus on. I would be surprised if one of the priorities didn't include making sure that all of our children are connected. I will just say, and now you're probably sorry you asked, because
No,
now
not at all.
I've gotten started. One of the things that I think we also need to be talking about, and this might, I think when you say social emotional learning, that now brings up different things for different people.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to talk about students feeling connected in their school, that students feel seen, safe, and supported in their school buildings, that no child is invisible, because that's where the tragedies occur. And so one of the things that I would love for us to talk about is how are we ensuring and measuring that our children are connected to their school communities? Do they have a trusted adult that they can go to? How are they engaging in their school community beyond just showing up to class? Athletics, clubs, whatever that may be. Those are things we can actually document and measure, and I believe they matter. And so I think will be part of the strategic planning conversation around what that looks like for us here in the Washoe County School District. I hope that probably more than answers your
No,
question,
that's
Sarah.
very, very helpful. And I think why it struck me so much is because I completely agree with what you're saying. But a lot of times, and as a commission, we're tasked with the safety of our students, and absolutely mental health is a big part of that. But I'm afraid if we talk about it as a goal outside of how they learn and how they're connected to their school, and my background and my profession is marketing communications, so I very much look at how are we conveying this message so that it gets across and people understand what the intent is and they can get behind it versus trying to silo it. And so that's why I wanted you to say how you said it, because I was like, oh, perfect how you said it in the
I
town
think
hall.
we need to talk about the work versus just labels. The labels are where I think the distractions happen, because there's so many different interpretations of what those labels mean. So if we can actually talk about what it is we're talking about, which is making sure that every child is seen, safe, and supported to be successful in their school community,
Yeah.
people can get behind that.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other conversations from the commission?
Hey, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Maybe just a quick review, because I think I'm the one that kind of got this started last year. My focus was more on physical security of the schools. And I shared some experiences where I pretty much just visit the high schools, sometimes middle schools. But, we've all seen that school districts that have had incidents seem to then take action to improve physical security rather than taking a look before something happens and seeing what we can do. And very simple things to me, like the ability for anyone can walk into the front door of pretty much any of our high schools and without the doors not locked, no one has to buzz them in. They have immediate access to classrooms in the area. Some of our schools' offices are embedded deeper in the center of the school. Doors unlocked all around the campus. I never had off-campus lunch when I went to high school, and I look at our students at some of our high schools, and there are hundreds and hundreds that are out in the plazas for off-campus lunch, and I'm wondering, are we responsible to keep them safe during those times, during that lunch period, and how could you even possibly do that? Is the value of an off-campus lunch more important than, student security and district liability and those kinds of things? So I would definitely like to see us do something this year, if we call it improving physical security, or even just conducting some kind of a review of our physical security of our schools to see if there's something that we could do better.
This is Commissioner Flores, if I may, in a follow-up, in reviewing the minutes from last time, it sparked my memory that there was going to be an executive summary presented, which might inform this conversation, or am I confusing it with something else? But it was related to safety assessments that occurred. Does anybody have any information on that?
I'm reading the same minutes that you are, Commissioner Flores, and it does mention that our safe emergency manager, Roy Anderson, was called up, and he said that he would bring that forward to us. It has not been agendized, so it hasn't been brought to us yet. So it may be something that he's working on, and I can certainly circle back with Dr. LaMarca to make sure that that gets on an agenda soon, so that we are all on the same page. The conversation I remember is that he has done some risk and safety assessments, and he was going to present some of those to us. Is that correct?
Thank you. And if I may, Sheriff Balaam contacted me indicating that he's having audio issues. He can see and hear us, but may not be able to respond if called upon.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other discussion around this?
This is Shelley Buchanan. Do
Yes.
I have to state for the record, or can I leave that out?
However you're comfortable.
Okay, thank you. I have a suggestion. I see from the minutes of the last meeting that Dr. LaMarca went over all the different tiers of assistance that the district can give for students with not just academic concerns, but with mental health concerns, behavioral concerns. And I'm not sure exactly everything that's put out to parents and teachers about this process, specifically how this goes, but maybe to look at how we could publicize something that's very simple and understand for parents and teachers how this process is, and also access to community resources. I know as a parent, and I've spoken to many different parents, and I have friends who are counselors in the school district, and oftentimes parents will come to the school counselors and say, we need to see a counselor, our family needs to see a counselor, our child needs to see a psychologist or even a psychiatrist. Where do we go? And we don't have a lot of resources out in Washoe County for mental health professionals, but what resources we do have, I would personally like to see something that we could give to counselors and then publicize to parents that says, okay, here's step one, contact this person, then step two, then here's a list of approved contacts that you go to if you need help, that people know where to turn.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think it's been a constant conversation that we have. Dr. LaMarca, if you want to come up and chime in. But also we have in the room Catherine Loudon, who's the coordinator for the counselors, that I think that's something that we struggle with, is having the right resources available at the right time. Not necessarily that they're not available, it's available at the right time. And how do we know when a school should intervene? So I'm going to...
So, Paul, just know that this agenda item is just on topics, so we don't want to go into details on what she's requesting. It needs to kind of more stay in line of what the goals and objectives are going to be in the safe and the
Thank
healthy
you.
schools forum.
Thank you for that guidance. For the record, Paul LaMarca, and I know you didn't ask a specific question, but I think it's a really good idea. I think you're really talking kind of like about our MTSS structures, and within that framework, we do talk about academics for sure, but also attendance and behavior and mental health supports. If your goal was something to do with better communication with parents, I think we have a few avenues that we could sort of use in order for you to meet your goal. So we could work with the parent university about classes that are very specific around MTSS. There'd be another avenue to look more specifically around some of the mental health supports that we provide. We can increase our web presence, make it more friendly. So there are a variety of things that if you choose that as a goal objective, I think we could make some progress.
I'm curious too if maybe we had talked about in the last meeting doing the safety forums maybe on a quarterly basis and doing, it sounds like, the large one still in May. So if we took smaller items or very specific items, we could do like Scott's idea of, more physical safety and kind of updating parents about physical safety of the buildings and what that looks like. And then one specific topic could be, how do you access resources? And maybe Catherine and Catherine's team could, provide some feedback on that. But, I think if we're going to do, in the spirit of what we talked about in our last meeting, a quarterly kind of update, I think it should be something that is doable and something that is attainable, because the big safety forum, I think, is harder to get everybody involved in.
Thank you.
Scott, maybe we comment on that?
Yes, of course.
That was a big part of the discussion, and I think that more frequent safety forums, it's certainly something last June you all wanted to see. Quarterly might stretch our folks in communications in terms of their ability to pull that off. The more the commissioners are involved, then it's more likely we could do that. I definitely think we could have a fall and a spring, see if it works better or see what some of the problems are, and then in the following year go to quarterly. But I'm a little concerned about trying to commit to 4 right now because we don't have the staff.
I like where your head's at with that. I like to have a realistic, that was one of my worries too about doing it quarterly, is that how do we generate all the people, and yeah, everybody's working so hard. So maybe a fall and spring sounds good.
And I think it'll allow us to really align with the new strategic plan that may come out at the end of the school year, hearing what the superintendent says. So if we start small and we focus on what we've already talked about and not create anything new, and then move forward with realigning our goals for the next year. So this year, I think we have had a healthy discussion about some of the things, certainly physical safety being one of them, and mental health, but really we need to identify some goals for the commission, right? What are our goals? Are our goals to have 2 safety forums a year? Is our goal to have these dedicated topics? What does that look like for us? Catherine, it's good to see you.
Commissioner Benton and members of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission. I just wanted to add a little bit of information about what types of information that we also share with students. So we try to empower students with resources by putting like on the back of their ID cards, by promoting information about the new 988 number, as well as our safe waste reporting system and some of those. So one of the things that we run into in our community is we'll make referrals to agencies, and through lack of availability, then people tire of making multiple calls according to what's on their insurance and otherwise. So I've been listening, and I wanted to just add that student piece to it and let you know that definitely that is something that we can always improve. And we will improve the communication with all of those stakeholder groups.
Thank you. Commissioner Porter, your light's on.
I have a question. Is our goal in this meeting to brainstorm around goals, or to actually put pen to paper on like several different goals that we'll then vote on at the end? I just want to kind of understand how concrete you want us to get.
Either way, we can take action. It's agendized to take action. If we set goals and we motion through that and follow that process, we can, or we can openly talk about it.
Okay.
Now that we have some new commissioners and we have heard from the superintendent.
Okay. And then second question related to communication and how we distill that out. Do we have resources in the district that have communications backgrounds that can take things and take big complex concepts and distill them down to like infographic level? I mean, what kinds of resources do we have to where we could even set goals in that way?
I'm going to let Dr. Lamarca come
Okay,
up and
great.
answer that, or maybe one of his colleagues.
Great.
Hi, I'm Chad Hartley with the Communications Department. I'm filling in for Megan Downs, who couldn't be here today due to the interview process. We do have videographers on staff. We have graphic designers on staff. We have social media specialists on staff, so we are here to support in those various needs. Just while I'm up here, one thing that we did discuss in our office coming out of the safety forum in May was the concept of, we did a lot of presenting during the meeting, live presenting. And one thing that we could do to maybe streamline things, especially if we're going to add a meeting, is do a lot of those presentations recorded in advance and make those available to parents and families to watch, so that then the participation in the forum could be a little more streamlined with Q&A with experts. So while I'm up here, I just wanted to share with that.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
So I'm going to leave it out with you guys what you would like our next steps to be. I can support whatever you guys want. And Yes, thank you, Sarah. So we can set some goals now, we can set some goals later, but I see Commissioner Buchanan leaning in, so I'm going to allow her to talk.
Shelley Buchanan, I was going to suggest that maybe we hold back on the goals regarding the school physical safety until we get that report and we get all that information. I'm not sure if we want to go ahead and maybe set a couple of goals today or not, but I would be certainly open to that.
Thank you. Commissioner Porter, here, lights on.
Thank you. I just want to throw it back to Commissioner Caldwell, because I'm not sure that you got to finish your thought in terms of the safety around high schools, and are we accountable to that? And I understand we want to wait for that report, but we kind of went on a different tangent, and I just want to make sure if there's additional things you want us to consider, because that is a point of concern, right? Is that middle schools and elementary schools can have that single point of entry, but high schools, it's a whole different beast. So just wanted to hear more, especially because this is one of our first meetings, so I want to kind of absorb where you were going with that.
Yeah, sorry. No, I didn't feel like I was cut off. I guess again, just because of my life experiences and my previous career, I'm always, I guess I'm a little bit more focused on the physical security piece, having been so many places in the world where seeing humanity at its worst, that always pops into your head, when you think about it. And then my 7 years at my high school in Florida, before I came out to Reno, it was a very, very rough area. And we didn't have a lot of money in the district nor at the school. However, the school was definitely, I want to say, locked down in terms of you were not getting in that building without being on a video camera and having to speak to someone through a speaker into the office and explain who you were, why you were there, and then you had to be buzzed in, and then you were buzzed into another area before you could be buzzed into the office. So I look at all those things and say, wow, those things were really great, I think. And so when I go around, obviously it's nice for our students to have the freedom to, walk out any door in the school and move to their next class without having to go down the hallway or have an off-campus lunch and invade the plazas and the restaurants all around there. And of course, it's probably more convenient for the school to have the main front door unlocked so parents can come in and go to the office and do things. But if you take a look at each one of those things individually, they all invite scenarios where our students are not safe or can be harmed. And I guess that's kind of what was driving. And yeah, I agree, I think with Commissioner Buchanan that we should wait till we hear Mr. Anderson's eval and what does he think and what does he say about that. And again, I haven't really been to elementary schools and only a few middle schools, so I was mostly talking about our high schools.
Thank you. Any other commissioners before I chime in? Something that's going through my mind is it might be helpful for us to hear from the staff that's actually working in the schools and hearing what they want. Maybe they can help contribute to the success of our goal setting. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it might be helpful to hear from the school counselors or maybe the school social workers and hear what they feel needs to be addressed, because we're only a commission of 15 and not all of us have interactions with schools. So there may be something that is pressing that we can help align our goals with. That's my thought on that. I'm not opposed to setting some realistic goals today. I have a few that I could go with, but I think really this should be our information gathering session of what we really want. I hear the physical safety. I think the language and how we present things is important, that we are presenting it the same way the teachers are, the same way the counselors are, so that when we go to our safety forums, it's the same language for parents to understand and they can link things together. As a parent, I often get lost when I hear it one way and it's not quite the same being presented to my children. Because I'll bring it up and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Dad.
I would love to hear your thoughts on the goals, if you have some things that you just mentioned that you'd like to share, just to give us sort of a base.
One of them certainly is that we need to hear from the emergency management team and get his assessments up to date so that we can understand where we play our role in that. The other is I really feel like we should be involved in the discussion of how do we make the schools safer. That has been something this commission has really drove home, that we were a leading force in that. And I want to continue that conversation, so I would like to see those goals. And then also some goals around what the superintendent talked about, a child being seen, safe, and supported. How do we as a commission support that statement? It can be in a many different facet of our community, but how do we do it for the school district? How do we make every child seen and also to feel safe, but also feel supported? I think something that I didn't realize till she said it 3 times was supported. So that's something that really is, from an outsider's point of view, she's seen that, and we need to help address that with her. I think that's our number one goal, is to help address the concerns of the superintendent and the school district. So those are some ideas that I have. I don't know that I can really make a motion on that.
Sure. Do you, on the emergency management one and that report, you said that needs to be agendized?
Yes.
So do we have a timeline for that, or is that up to you to?
I
put
can
that
certainly
on
work
there?
with Dr. LaMarca on that.
Okay.
And it really, a lot of things come into play. When anything gets put on an agenda, the person's not available, or they have to do some legwork, we have to give them time, because we want the best version of whatever they're going to present to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Commissioner Buchanan.
This is Shelley Buchanan. I'd also like to, and I don't know if I need to move to put something on the agenda for the next meeting, but maybe if we could get a district data report on incidents, number of incidents of violence in regards to schools, different types of schools, patterns over time. I know that the state has a student and teacher climate survey that they're collecting now annually, and we could also have access to that information. And I think having that specific data will help us target what kind of things we need to address and how we address them.
Yeah, certainly. So I'll address 2 things that I heard brought up, and then I think Sarah's going to chime in after me or before me.
Just wanted to note, for agenda setting, that's under our regulations, that's the role of the chair in collaboration. So if you have any suggestions, you can certainly contact Scott, but he is the one that will collaborate with Dr. LaMarca on putting things on the agenda. But it sounds like this, your comment is more so information that might be helpful for the goal setting. So that could always just be suggestions, and I know our staff always take that into account, and that you might find helpful when this is likely going to be re-agendized. It has been in every Safe and Healthy Schools Commission. It keeps popping up on the agenda, so you guys can finalize your goals, and also for the forum as well.
Dr. LaMarca?
I really didn't have anything to say. I just thought maybe a question would come. At least throughout the year, you can anticipate presentations that deal a lot with what you're talking about. But I'm happy to work with Scott on seeing what information can be pulled. Mr. Anderson did speak with the commission last year. He has every year, and I'm sure he will come back. I will have to check on his availability for the October meeting. I don't know that he's going to have a whole bunch of new information to share with the commission, so I want to manage expectations. So what I will try and do is pull his past presentations, point you in the direction of those minutes, and then if he has additional information to add, I'm sure he will. And Roy's a great asset to us, and I know he's usually here. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I thought maybe there would be a question.
Thank you.
Chairman, I just want to note that Misty Von Allen has joined the meeting.
Yay, thank you. Hello, Misty. So Sarah touched on the one topic that I wanted to talk about, how we get things on the agenda, and the other one was the climate survey that you talked about, Commissioner Buchanan. The school district has a site for that as well. I brought it up at the last meeting, trying to understand the climate and how that information is presented. So I do know that I was told that there is a survey, at that time it was the survey that was happening, but the climate survey results are published on the school district's website. I had a chance to look at it, and there's a lot of great information, and it goes back. It's not just the current climate. So it allows you to look at certain things.
I just wanted to quickly weigh in that just in the interest of logistics is we are going to be looking to add another safety forum, I think just time is kind of the essence since we're already in September. I'd be curious about other commissioners' thoughts and ideas about that, or should we just kind of continue to focus on our May one? I personally, from hearing how taxing it is on everybody and how hard it was to start our meeting today, getting everybody engaged, that I'm leaning towards a one safety forum as we've done in the past. But I'd be curious to hear about what other people think about that.
I just have a question. This is Sarah Porter. When do our goals need to be finalized? Because I think that would be an indicator of whether we could even try and pull something like that off. So
I don't think
Scott,
there's a
that's question to
hard
you.
deadline
Okay.
of when our goals. It was more so that we had an open forum to talk about what the purpose of the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission was, and allowed us to throw out some ideas of what we would like as a commission to be some of the targets that we try to achieve. I think I'm in the same position as Vice Chair Sanchez, that I think right now is not the best time to do it, not necessarily because we're not in a position, but resources within the school district, people within the school district are changing, and we want to make sure that we hear the right voices so that we're all reaching the same goal. So I think the goal setting was just more so that we had an agenda item to talk about what we do and how we accomplish that.
Okay.
And again, it's on the agenda for an action item. We don't have to take action. We can continue the conversation, or if Vice Chair Sanchez would like to make a motion that we only hold one safety forum, that's a goal that we can set.
I make a motion that we hold one safety forum this year as we've had in the past in May again.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Commissioner Flores, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Flores. With that, I'm going to look to America for public comment.
There is no public comment.
Thank you. And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. With that, are there?
Scott,
Yes, sir.
could I, sorry, just because I'm new, this is Scott Caldwell. So our committee, we make recommendations to the school district, right? We're not an authoritative body that says to the district, we've taken a vote and done our work and we want you to do X, Y, Z. Is that correct understanding?
Yes.
It is. Okay. All right. Because, to me, that goes along with setting our goals so that I understand, what do we do at the end of the day if we accomplish our goals? If we make recommendations formally to the board or through Paul?
I think it's a combination of both, but I'm going to let Paul weigh in on that.
Thank you for the record, Paul Lamarca. It's a very good question, Scott Caldwell. All of the district committees that are board committees, that's what their role and function is to provide recommendations to the Board of Trustees to help them in their decision making. And to Chairman Benton's point, in the past, and this commission did such amazing work for several years, and then with the pandemic, everything kind of slowed down, that I don't think this commission has made a formal presentation to the board in the last couple of years, but that would probably be the best mechanism, is a joint presentation, staff and commission, especially if there's specific issues that either you want to bring to the board's attention, assuming they'll allow us on the agenda, or they may reach out to us and ask for our opinions on certain things.
Thank you. Commissioner Porter.
I want to circle back to what you had said around getting some opinions of staff and kind of our role in that. What would our next steps be for that? Because I don't know if we would want to tax with a survey and that sort of thing, or if this is Colleen, is that right, your name? Catherine, I'm sorry. If Catherine has some feedback from leading the counselors at the various schools, or what do you see as a next step to get that information?
So I have the privilege to work with Dr. Lamarca, and I can ask him. I don't want to direct him, and that's not my role, is to direct staff to do anything, but maybe ask if there's an opportunity for staff feedback, and he would gather that and then give it to us.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Did I answer that right? Yeah, I just don't want to be in the position to say this is what we want because I don't know what the resources they have available. Or
100%.
Paul understands their day-to-day work and how it will or will not fit in.
Sure, I just want to understand what we can ask for and what our next steps are and that kind of thing. Okay.
That's a great question.
Okay.
Any other goals, any other action items before we close both of those items?
I would just like to continue to make the plug for mental health and that is a continued goal of this commission. And I like what Commissioner Porter's saying about how do we weave that in? How do we talk about that in a way that's accessible? My pet love of the world is accessibility, and how do we talk in the language in a way that everybody can get that stuff? And I think that's what Catherine's group does, and I just really want to continue to support that.
Awesome. I agree.
I agree as well. I don't know how we make that a goal, a concrete goal right now, but even if we start looking at a seen safe and supported or something to that effect. But yes, I would look to your guidance on how do we make that a goal at this point, or do we just make sure that that's top of mind?
I think the latter option is probably the best option. Because if we set a goal, then I feel like we would have to be 100% committed to achieving that goal. And I don't know that I have a clear goal in mind that can support that, but be mindful of when we're setting our goals or setting topics for the safety forum, that is a forethought that we have.
This is Liz Flores, and recognizing that we're just getting thoughts put out there for eventual adoption as goals in the future. I know that in May, we had talked about firearm safety as well as driving safety, and those two, especially related to suicide, continue to be the most lethal occurrences as far as, children in this population. So I'm just putting on the record that I think we need to continue educating parents on those matters, because those are the highest frequency events that occur and pose the greatest risk to our kids. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback. All right, hearing no other comments, I will close both item 2.05 and 2.06, which moves us into our closing items. Number 3, America, is there any public comment for item 3.01?
There was one public comment received via email from Mr. Joe Morabito.
Thank you. Hearing no public comment, the next meeting announcement is incorrectly listed on our agenda, so it's the first Monday of October. Am I correct in that? Because it says we're meeting again today. Today's the next meeting announcement.
We have a forum now. We could meet again. Let me check my calendar. If you guys recalled, we had 2 years ago moved to the second Monday,
yes.
And then because of some scheduling issues, we're usually on the first Monday, but I think in October we may, so in October it'll be October 10th, which is the second Monday, and then I believe after that it's always going to be the first Monday, but I will get out to you a set of dates so that you can plan accordingly.
Okay. So item 2.0 or 3.02, our next meeting announcement is October the 10th at 2 p.m. in the Board of Trustee chambers. With that, I will adjourn the meeting at 3:03.